Smartphones have had a really eventful time recently, especially in terms of design. The notch has been one of the most polarizing features in recent memory, but I can applaud the fact that it made phone companies get creative. Though we might see the fate of returning form factors like sliders and motorized parts all too soon, from their ashes come the next trend in full-screen displays, the hole punch. Our first daily driver look at this comes from Honor, and I have to admit, I don't hate it. This is Pocketnow, and I'm Joshua Vergara. What's going on, everybody? Let's explore some of the trends we're expecting in 2019 via this year's first phone to combine them into one device, the Honor View 20. Don't worry, I haven't neglected the new 48 megapixel Sony sensor, which appears first in the View 20. Spoiler alert, I am seriously impressed with it, and I can't wait to see what phones do with it later on. It's just one example of how Honor has pulled a number of great tricks out of their bag to create a snapshot of what smartphones could look like in this new year. Alright, let's get back to the screen. This Full HD Plus IPS display might not have the resolution of top-tier flagships, but it is tuned very well for colors and brightness. It is also about as bezel-less as it gets, making a 6.4-inch display feel really easy to maneuver in one hand. That was achieved by doing away with chins and notches. Instead, Honor have put their front-facing camera in a tiny little hole in the corner. Now, originally I was afraid that it would be too big or too close to the back button in many Android applications, but thankfully that's not the case. It is nestled just perfectly inside of the notification bar, making it easy to blend in if you change the notch setting. You know what? I got used to it way faster than I ever did with any big notch. It's just like a tiny black spot in the corner. I have yet to run into any games or any media that are truly affected by it. There are a couple of things missing in the screen overall though, aside from more resolution. It doesn't have an always-on display, which I now have come to rely upon, and though I applaud Honor for packing in some of the future trends into the View 20, the fingerprint reader is still in a classic rear position. This is not a huge deal, it's just another detail that puts this phone behind some of its competitors. That back looks great though thanks to a V-pattern backing that comes in a few different colors but always shines vividly. It's a glossy feel, again a big classic with that fingerprint reader where it is, and honestly it was always kind of cool to have the word Honor sprawled somewhere on the back. After a year that saw returns of crazy colors and gradient designs, Honor does well to continue that design fun, and all of that without sacrificing too much. After all, there's even a headphone jack. Even though popping out the SIM tray doesn't reveal a place for an SD card, there can be 128 or 256 gigabytes of onboard storage, which is great for all of the media and games that you might install on here. And with up to 8 gigabytes of RAM on top of the Kirin 980, there's no shortage of power and performance in the View 20. And in my usage, the battery did not get more than maybe about 4 hours of screen on time, but at the very least, you can charge this thing up pretty quickly using the included fast charger. You know, if only the software were as accessible as the rest of the phone. Magic OS, as it is called, is very similar to EMUI since Honor and Huawei have a close relationship. Plenty of options do allow for customization. You can bring back the app drawer if you wish, you can change up the navigation methods, and you can theme the interface to your delight. But in the end, I imagine that many users will put a different launcher on here to make it look and feel a bit cleaner, or at least a little more familiar. Now, what might be familiar to users is the camera experience, which borrows pretty heavily from the Huawei relationship by having a similar app, similar stabilization capabilities, and it also adds in things like the night mode. Like many other parts of this phone, there is some new that has been injected. In this case, powerful sensors for both the main and front cameras. Even then, this new 48 megapixel Sony CMOS sensor gets helped along by a time-of-flight camera that uses 3D depth sensing. The main use for this is in the portrait mode, which has done well in my testing to find the subject and separate it from the background. Unfortunately, this and other modes cannot use the full potential of the 48 megapixel sensor, as they default mainly to 12 megapixels for final pictures. And the thing is, when you go into the main application into the auto mode, this is also the default for the general picture taking experience. The thing is that those 12 megapixel pictures are achieved by pixel binning. This new sensor is tuned to combine the pixels 2 by 2, not only to ensure high detail in the lower resolution pictures, but also to help with low light shooting. You know, I gotta say, it seems to do it pretty well. Pictures turned out really detailed, even in this tiny basement arcade where I was getting my butt handed to me in Street Fighter and Killer Instinct. It is in these situations that the night mode can also come in handy, using multiple frames and long exposures to create one well-exposed and evened out photo. And like with its Huawei counterparts, the night mode can be used in pretty much any situation for very high dynamic range photos. But that same stabilization magic is actually used in a new mode, made for the 48 megapixel sensor, the AI Ultra Clarity mode. To ensure top quality, this mode uses similar methods as the night mode to take multiple photos and combine them for a slightly higher dynamic range, super detailed picture. Now, this is not a replacement for the night mode, however, as the app does tell you that you have to have good lighting on the subject in this mode. Really, you're just choosing when you want a bit of assistance by the AI and the processing. The level of detail between this, the regular 48 megapixel setting where it doesn't do multi-frame, and the oversampled pixel binned 12 megapixel pictures are kind of similar. That is to say, they look pretty damn great. This is a great first foray for the new 48 megapixel sensor by Sony, and a great job by Honor in being the first to put it to good use. You know, I might even try to make some canvas prints out of the best 48 megapixel shots that I take on this phone just to take advantage of that detail. Otherwise, it is just going to be a waste on social media networks that would downsample it to hell. Plenty other forms of fun are available in the camera app, like 4K video recording, slow motion, and even beauty modes that now include a body slimming feature, as horrific as that might sound to some of you. I barely even touched upon the AI enhancements in the auto mode, which basically just adds saturation and maybe a little bit of contrast to over 1,500 different scenes and scenarios built into the NPU. AR lens modes can bring some fun to the already detailed selfies due to the 25 megapixel front shooter. Now, this is a level of silliness that you don't really get in phones usually hitting Western markets, so it's nice that Honor is not neglecting them with the View 20. Okay, clearly this is a phone with a mixed identity. The screen is full HD, but it has the new punch hole design. The View 20 looks and feels really sleek, but it achieves it by not changing up the rear fingerprint sensor or doing away with even the headphone jack. It has such great specifications, but then it is priced lower than much of the competition. To ensure that the price makes sense, some of the aspects of the View 20 might seem a little dated, but sprinkled among Honor's best phone yet are future trends that show the company's forward thinking. And you know what, I gotta say, if this is a snapshot of what we can look forward to in 2019 smartphones, I'm actually pretty excited about what is yet to come. As always, thank you very much for watching and hope you enjoyed this review of the Honor View 20. You can find links in the description down below for more information about this. After all, right around the time that this video is being released, the actual phone is being announced, so more info can be available over at Pocketnow.com. You can also follow what I'm up to, and I might actually do a little bit of a vlog where I take a look at the canvas prints from the 48 megapixel photos that I take with this over at my channel, youtube.com/Joshua Vergara, where I also do my own format of review called Who Is This For? So you can follow both of these channels rather, all over social media. You can find me at JVTechT, and of course Pocketnow is at Pocketnow, where you can find all of the best news, and you can also stay tuned for even more to come here on the YouTube channel. Subscribe to it if you haven't already, and we will see you in our next one.